Let's switch this one.
Hmm? Just this also happened last week. Sorry, everyone. I don't know. I keep having these issues with the
No
internet. I'm
problem, no
so
problem,
sorry.
Shal.
Keeps
No problem,
tossing me out.
Shalake.
Last week it
We'll
happened,
just
and
keep we'll just keep logging back on. We have a lot to say, so
okay, thank you so much. Because I was like, oh my god, what happened again and again? But
no,
yes,
it's not your fault.
I
It's not your
know,
fault.
I know, but it's so like you are in when, especially when the person talking is like in the, you know, giving all the information, and then it goes off, and I'm like, oh no. Okay, so yes, we are back with the very amiable big sister of mine. And she's going to be talking. She's a big advocate on self-care. She's a big advocate on, you know, caregivers and parents prioritizing their own emotional well-being, because really you cannot give what you don't have. If you do not put something in, what are you giving out to the child? So she's constantly telling us about, oh, you need to take that time, you need to take a break, you need to do this, you need to do that. She has this big support group that I'm so happy I'm part of on WhatsApp and also on Instagram and all of that. So she's going to be telling us now on what to look out for when you're building your support team, what to look out for, and how you can build a healthy, team around you to support your journey on this wonderful journey we're on.
Yes. So I'll dive right in. The first thing to recognize is that when a child of yours has autism, it means the entire family has autism. Not that you're all on the spectrum, but that you become an autism family, which means that autism, you can affect autism or allow autism to affect your family. You're going to have to make that choice. Okay? When I mean affect autism, that means you take control as much as you can and live your life as normal as possible. If you allow your life to be overtaken by autism, then you're going to fall into it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But first of all, I will say that autism it will, if you allow it, it will impact your relationship. So it will impact all your relationships. It will impact your relationship with your spouse. It will impact your relationship with your other children, if you have other children, because you will be struggling for time. Your child with autism will need you to focus on them much more than the others. So yeah, it's going to be a running battle. Now, those siblings as well will be going through their own issues. I always remind parents, before you became a parent with a child with autism, your life was going on okay. But for a lot of siblings, especially those that come with with the child with autism or after the child with autism, they know nothing else other than living with a sibling with autism. So you have to remember that that is a handicap, basically. It comes is a handicap for the sibling. So you're going to have to work on that because there's a shift. There's focus shifted right from the very beginning that child comes into the house. They meet that. So you have to be conscious and deliberate about spending the quality time that your other children need. You have to be very deliberate about that and make sure it doesn't affect them negatively. It must not affect them negatively. And the way to know that you have somehow successfully navigated this road is where you see that the other siblings become even advocates for their brother or sister. You see that they're happy to interact, to always interact, to care for, to be with. That's how you know that you're doing the right thing. It must always be that you create such a loving environment in the house that the siblings love each other, that you can see, that you can even feel that if you are not here, that the other siblings will step in and make sure the child with autism is okay. I don't know if I've digressed, but that's it. So
No, you haven't.
relationship with the
In fact,
husband,
you are on point. You are on
the
point. And
relationship with,
just
thank
keep
you,
going.
the relationship with your spouse, it will shift. You have to actively work on it. The two of you have to become a force in this autism. The two of you will not be able to battle it the same way. You will not be able to battle it the same way. So work on, recognize each other's strengths and weaknesses, and you build on each other's strengths. What the other partner's strength is to be able to handle autism, use it. What the other partner's strength is, so what your strength is, what your husband or your significant other's strength is, needs to be pulled together. And then you also have to make time for each other at some point, because autism is a stealer of time. It is a stealer of your relationship with others. It can be, it actually is. So you have to work on it. You have to work on stealing time out from autism for your spouse, for your other children, for yourself. Autism will affect your relationship with your in-laws. We're Africans. It will. It will affect your relationship with your siblings. It will. We all need to recognize it will also affect your relationships at work. If you're a professional, it will affect you. You have to decide what is best for you in terms of, I know a lot of mothers who have left work to focus. I also know a lot of mothers like myself who took time to go as far as they were willing to go professionally before taking time out. I know others who haven't taken any time out. So it is what best works for you and your child's situation. There's no right way of handling it. There's actually no right way. Nobody has all the answers. You always have to do what is best for you and your family at any given time. What is best today may not actually be best next year. So things change, people change, circumstances change, and so you have to adjust along the way all the time. So that's that. Then you need your circle. You need your circle. You need your circle of friends. So you need your circle. We all have our friends. You need your ride or die. So your ride or die friends are going to be the ones that stick with you throughout this journey. You will have a few that fall away, that cannot handle being a friend of a mother with a child with autism. Forgive them, move on. Not everybody has the capacity to empathize. Not everybody has that. Everybody's empathy quotient is different. Some of us high, some low. That's life. Just forgive them and move on. Doesn't mean you won't be friends with them. It just means they're not really part of your inner circle, your circle of friends. Then you must have a circle of friends of mothers with children with autism. You must have that. Try and surround yourself with that. It's one of the reasons why I started Amin. Amin is a mother's group. Actually means Amin, AMIN, Autism Mothers in and outside Nigeria. I started it basically, for me, it was to give other mothers coming behind me, make sure their journey is easier than my journey was. My daughter is 18 today, which means my journey started 18 years ago. My prayer and my reason for Amin is to help those coming behind me so that their journey is smoother. And I believe your journey will be smoother when others that have gone ahead of you can honestly share their journey, share what they've been through, give you advice. It's not everybody's advice. You don't have to take everything 100%. You take what sits with you, what resonates with you, what you think will work with you. So you need that circle, and that's what Amin is for. It's that circle. You need that circle. And then you need a circle of, I call it your circle of professionals. You need your circle of professionals. Now, in developing this circle of professionals, that means you have to do your homework as well. Because you don't want to be the one asking the questions all the time. You also need to gather knowledge. I've told you, you need to read up. You need to, if you can, train as a therapist yourself, which is something Shola and I did. Please do. It will only help you, so you know what what the different therapists are talking about, what the professionals are talking about. You have that view. If you also can be a therapist, awesome. I know my strength. I'm actually not a therapist. I can be a therapist for others. I'm not a good therapist for my child. I just am not. My empathy quotient is just too high. I end up, let me just do it for her. It's too hard. So I have learned, I know my strength. That's my weakness. So I've recognized my weakness in that regard. And so I try and surround myself with the professional help that my daughter needs. That said, I want to point out that people will come into your life for a reason and a season. We all know, if you're a parent with autism, you know autism is not easy. So whoever's coming to your life for at that point in time, it may not in the long run be easy for them either. So just know that I won't call them relationships, but yeah, some relationships with therapists, professionals, they do come to an end. But recognize that for that season that they were there for a season. Some people come for a season, some come for a reason. Don't hold it against those that came for a season. Okay, there'll always be those for a reason and for a season. So that's also important on this journey. What else will I say? So also with your circle, so you find mentors. Those are people that have done it, ahead of you. You find friends, those that are currently, doing what you're doing. That is their children at the same level as your child. Their children possibly attend the same school or doing the same therapies or about the same age. Now, it's very important also because you need to form a social circle. You need a social circle for yourself. You need a social circle for your child. Our children on the spectrum find it difficult making friends. So we need to make friends for our children. I try and make friends for my child, so that my child always has that friend, even if, and it sort of transcends to the mothers and the fathers. I'm quite intentional about that because I think it pays, but it's a win-win for all. The other mother, the other child, my child, it's a win-win all the way. So please try and do that. That's important. I've said stay enlightened, and then you must always be your child's advocate. Be your child's advocate. The various I run admin, but I'm also a member of other groups. Admin for me is specially curated for mothers, just so mothers can unburden. You can unburden, you can ask questions, not be shy, not feel that, you're asking a stupid question or you're silly, or, if there was a professional on there, they're going to think you're a bit dumb or unwise or whatever. I just be as free as you can be and unburden yourself. One of the reasons why I try not really to have, if you're not a mother, I really don't want you. I don't want you there, not because I have no respect for you, but so that the mothers always have it's a safe spot, it's a safe place to come and download, even if you're coming to rant about your significant other or your child on the spectrum or your child that's not on the spectrum. Or we've all been through it. We've all been through it to some degree or another. So do come into that space, rant, leave. Nobody's going to judge you. There are no judginas there. And rant and go, just unburden and move on. I always emphasize the need to move on. You can't
Not to cut you, I just wanted to also say that I remembered when I first came in on my journey, and I was a mess. I was a big wreck. And I remember that I joined a couple groups, and I was just like, you know what? They're not meeting what I wanted. I mean, they were not. And I remembered how I didn't know you before that time, and I reached out to you. And I felt like I was at peace, not with anything, but it was more like, okay, I'm talking to someone who understands me, who understands where I'm coming from, and who would not judge me based on anything. And I remembered, because before that time, I'd heard so many things. People had said, you know what? Autism is a rich man's sickness, or a this, or a that. And so I just felt like, okay, where do you turn to? What do you do with all of this? And I'm new and all of that. I remembered you just said, you know what? It's a marathon, it's not a race. So just breathe, eh? We'll take it one step at a time. And I remembered, and all the while, my growth in that group has been significant, because I know that I could always turn to people that understand what I'm going through, or what they must have gone through at some point. And then they would just give me advice that were very salient to what I really require. I remember saying then that I didn't want to join a group that would just be prayer, and all of that. And I was welcome. So, I mean, I'm not trying to, throw you off. I'm just trying to say how much me joining your group has impacted me, my own personal growth. So I just wanted to throw it out there. So
thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, please continue.
So let me go on. So I've spoken about having a support network, family, your girlfriends, if you're a professional, even your professional friends, because you know what? Everybody, there's a different perspective.
Yeah.
In life, everything can be seen from a different perspective. The glass is half full. It's also half empty.
Yeah.
There are days when I look at that half full glass and to me it's half empty. There are days when I look at it and it's half full. Your perspective changes according to situations, different days, depending on what you're going through or what the situation is. So it's always also good to have people with different perspectives. So I even find that my friends, my professional friends circle, when I'm discussing, some will give me, have you thought this? You hear someone give me a legal angle of something I did not think about. Legal angle, when I was thinking about, there was a time where I was putting up security cameras in my house. Okay, there's the legal angle of what you can do, who you must tell, before you're filming, different things. So always have, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised what comes out of that, what your circle can provide for you. And now, after talking about circles, I want to talk about you yourself, the mother. Now, the carer needs to be cared for. If you're the number one carer, you need to care for yourself. Who taught me this? My older sister taught me this. My older sister, Dr. Aluko, would always say to me, you need to take care of number one. You need to care for, if you don't care for yourself, you cannot give you can't give your best to your child. You can't give your best to your husband, to your job, to your other children. You can't. So you need to care for yourself. There are times, and it goes up and it goes down. There are times when there's just an overload and you just need to stop. You need to breathe. You just need to breathe. There are times when things are not going, the way you want to, you need to just breathe, breathe, take a moment so that you can your brain can think of different perspectives. You can think of another way of doing it. You can see the good in the supposed bad that is currently taking place at that time. You need to always take time out and breathe, especially when it's getting too much. Breathe, even if you're just going to have a shower, take a long soak in the bath. I tell everybody, just do that. I do that. I just, let me just switch off small. Let me go and soak in the bath. That's it. Put on my candles or whatever it is, or my favorite scent in the bath. Soak in there. Listen to music I like. Even that's like 15, 20 minutes. And you'll be surprised. You come out a different person. And at that point, when your brain, when you're still, it's in the Bible. Be still. It's there for a reason. Be still. And it's in that time when you're still that a different voice, a different perspective, if you're not even spiritual, a different perspective comes to you. If you're spiritual, a different voice, you hear God gives you that, gives you a different perspective, talks to you, makes you see something in a different light. So that's very important. I always emphasize that the little you can do. And then also celebrate your wins, your little wins. That's the beauty of autism. Most times it doesn't give us big wins. It gives us lots of little wins along the way. We need to celebrate them. We need to celebrate them every day, every time. We must celebrate those little wins, and because the little wins lead to big wins. And even those little wins, hug yourself. You did high five yourself. You did well. You did well. Now you've come based on where you're coming from. You know where you're coming from. Nobody knows better than you. You know where you're coming from. So you've done well. You're definitely not where you were at the beginning. Definitely. So even that is an achievement. That is an achievement. Yes, there's still a long road. There's the journey to take, but you're not where you were. Your child is not where he or she was, if you're honest with yourself. So please celebrate that. There's something to celebrate in everybody and in every circumstance, Celebrate that resilience. Do you know what it even must feel like for your child on the spectrum? Those hours of therapy, those hours of do this, do that, instruction. I don't like taking instruction. I was, growing up, I was told I was very stubborn. I'm still very stubborn. So sometimes I sit back. And that's another thing, I grew up, my father used to say that you must wear the other person's shoes sometimes. That also helps to give you better perspective. Wear the other person's shoes. Sometimes I sit back and I'm watching my daughter, I'll do this, do that one, put this down, do that, go this way, sit. And I'm thinking, if I'm her, I'll be tired now. She deserves a break. It's too much. And then another advice. I'm just learning into this because, like I said, my child is 18 now. So technically, legally, she's a full adult. She's a full adult. So her body is operating as a full adult. She needs to dress like a full adult. I try and imagine. Typical 18-year-old, what would the typical 18-year-old girl be doing? What would how would her hair be? What would her clothes be like? If you see her outside, how would she be? Let's try and remember that, let's be age appropriate with our children as much as possible, sometimes it's not just possible, but as much as possible. There's an admin mother on this group. Her son is now, did he turn 25? I just recall her telling me a few years ago that every now and again, she gives him that he sips wine. And she was like, he's 20 something. At that age, isn't that something he would have been doing? She's not teaching him to be an alcoholic, but on the table when everybody, he sips his wine. And I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right. He's that age. I'm not advocating alcohol, please, but I hope you understand the context of which I'm coming
Absolutely.
from. That
Absolutely.
there's some age appropriate things that we must allow our children to participate in or to do. Um, so that's another thing I'm throwing in there this morning. I'm trying to see. I jotted down. I'm going to wear my glasses just to make sure
Problem is
I
the
do
problem.
put in the things, some of the things.
Problem is fine. So while you're doing that, um,
Yes.
that someone had put up here to see that what are the early signs of autism in a child. So do you want?
Oh, Sholakwe, please, you do that.
Well,
You do that.
okay. Well, I'm not a professional, so I would not try to go into the angle of professional educating you about what the that because most times you get some argument left and right. But what I say to you is first time, I mean, when you look at what is the definition of a child, if you want to set out to say, oh, child, there's something not quite right. Maybe as early as 18 months, the child is not responding to his name when being called. That's a red flag. That's an
Yes.
early sign because, or you see the child stuck in a stereotype, a repetitive behavior. It could be
Yes.
just that the child listens to a particular song at a particular part of the song is what he's interested in, and he's just repeating it, going over and over. So when people say some children are being repetitive in behavior, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're flapping their hands. Sometimes it doesn't even appear in the spinning around or stuff like that. It could be in the things that maybe the audio that they're listening to, that they are repeating a particular phrase of the video, or there's just one place they want to listen to all the time. That could be a sign that I need to probably check or just patiently observe. Does not mean that your child has autism. It just means that you are observing the child and you're taking note of your observation, because these things is most times you get to hear people get misdiagnosed, and the reason why is because you're looking for a particular pattern, and you've seen one child with autism does not mean that every child would share that same traits. And so if you now use one person's marker to define what to look out for in other children, it makes it very difficult for you to get the right diagnosis or to get the diagnosis on time. We all know certain things that you have to look at. I mean, going by the milestone checks. When you take your child to the doctors for the immunization, they should be doing a milestone check for you, and they would ask certain questions, certain things. Oh, is your child talking now? What is he saying? How many words do you have in? Things like that, because we also know that autism affects how a person communicates. Some people have words, but it still affects the social communication aspect of it. So when you are looking at that, sometimes you would notice it as way back 18 months, when the child probably the big repertoire of vocabulary, for example. You don't,
Hmm.
number of words are not what it should be, or and sometimes, like I said, it's just you making your observation, because it just might be the child is a late talker, or something else might be going
That
on.
that's
Does
that's
not
very
mean
true.
the
Or the
child
child might
has,
even have hearing problems.
yes, or the child.
For me, I would say in the early years, one of the things to look out for sure, is if the child is not responding to their name. That's one. There's stereotypical behavior, which
Mm,
Sholakwe you elaborated on. And then there's another one. For me, it's smile. So if the child is not able to, so those are social cues. So if the child isn't naturally smile, when you pick up a baby, you smile at the child is not smiling back. All of that, those can be signs. So in the early years, 0 to 2, I would say if the child is not responding to their name, if the child does not smile back, so that's social engagement,
Okay.
doesn't follow those, because children, babies mimic. Babies try and mimic. So if they're not mimicking all those your facial expressions and that,
So awareness.
that's something to note. And then stereotypical behavior is something to note. You may find that feeding might be an issue. You may find sleeping might be an issue. Those pediatrician, please mention your concerns, and then the pediatrician will give you further advice. One of the first things they would possibly advise is a hearing test to make sure that the child can hear, because if the child has hearing issues, that's possibly why they're not responding to their name or are not being as sociable as they should at that age. I say this because my daughter's a twin, so she has a twin brother. So there was a ready person, from a ready baby child for me to compare her off with. And I don't know if I mentioned it at the beginning, that I heard of autism, but I thought it was in boys. So, I was confused, as in, what can be why? Girls are typically more sociable. So why is my son a bit more sociable than my daughter? Why is she the one? In fact, we nicknamed her Justice because she had a very stern face, no smile, stern all the time. I said, this one is going to take after her grandfather. As a child, her nickname was Justice. It was just, she was to me, to us, she was just going to be a judge. No expressionless was her face. So that's why I bring up that issue, that if your child is mostly expressionless as a baby, that's another sign. That's based on my own experience. I hope I didn't cut you off, Sholape.
Oh, no, you didn't. No, I actually even wanted to add to it that also, apart from the social interaction, social awareness also. Like, for example, if a child is in a room and there's a loud noise and all sorts of activity, children would, at that early age, want to join other children. Like
They
you
will
said,
join, they will turn
they
to
will join,
acknowledge.
they
If
will
they're not
turn. But
acknowledging,
yeah,
they're not
imagine
interested.
there's a tornado going on and they're just in one corner in their own world. That's a red flag also. Those are things that you would observe. So that is, they are not being socially aware of their environment. And for you, that's because you had mentioned social interaction. That's the smile back, the I look at you and you look at me, I point at something, they track the pointed finger,
Yes.
those kind of things. Those are your social interaction. Your social
Yes.
awareness is that they are in a room. Are they interacting? Or sometimes they're in a room and they just keep moving and moving round and round and round, like,
Yes.
and you're wondering that
In their
what's
own
going.
world, in their own
Yes,
space,
in their
in their
own
own
world.
world.
Yes. So those are things that would, you can easily track as your early signs of autism. But then I am not saying that child is autistic. You are just
Exactly.
recording your observation. The
Yes.
observation you would then now share with a qualified professional like the child's doctor, who would then now go with his own big checklist to look and cross the T's and dot the I's before he can even tell you this is what
And
you're
even
dealing with.
calling other professionals to do their
Yeah,
own
own
analysis before
evaluation.
before your pediatrician can pronounce that.
Yes,
It's a
it can't
multidisciplinary
be alone.
assessment
Yes.
that must take place for autism.
Yeah. And I think like I just wanted to read a quick comment from some of the people that have posted up here. I think Tony said that it's so easy to unwittingly focus on the child to the exclusion of everyone else. It really takes being deliberate and intentional, because the reality is the child with autism requires more attention. I think she was talking about when you said that you need to be more intentional and deliberate about other siblings. So thank you so much. And then she also said, so true. It varies according to situation. I think she was talking about when you said, your situation would determine whether the glass is half full of or half empty. Many a time,
Exactly.
we're always in that situation.
We're always in that situation.
Yes. And then I think AY says, I completely agree. We don't stop to think, how does the child feel? We just want results. I think she was probably talking about when she was talking about when you are not being age appropriate, or maybe I don't know. But thank you so much for adding that to it, because I mean, like I said, we want it as robust as possible. We want everybody putting in their own comments and joining, and thank you so much. So let me give the floor back to you to continue and what you were saying, because I was really enjoying it. Remember, you said 30 minutes, so 30 minutes. So
Yes, so
I
and
looked
I'm
at the
still
time
here.
and I laughed.
Okay,
I said, I'm not going to
let me
remind
try and
everybody.
round up with some of my
No,
thoughts.
I'm enjoying it. I am so enjoying
what
it.
do you do in tough times? So autism brings about several tough times, but let's remember that tough times never last forever. They come in seasons and they will go. This too shall pass. In tough times, I've said, do things that relax you. Whatever you can do to relax you at that point in time, please build it into your present circumstance in that situation. Remember, lay your burdens on God. Be as spiritual as you can be. But no, as my mother told me, my mother said to me, God does not give you what you cannot carry. Many a times when the burden, the challenge, because it's not, I call it a challenge and not a burden. When the challenge seems too heavy for me and I'm saying, Lord, this one that you gave me, it passed my power, or it passed my power, I cry out. After crying out and I sit down, I think of the beauty, I think of the lessons, because autism will actually show you a different perspective about life. You will begin to appreciate the little things. You will appreciate the things that most people take for granted. So there's a different perspective about what you would see and what you will appreciate that autism brings about. Rely on your support system. Rely on your support systems. Some systems will fail you every now and again, but everybody's human. Forgive and move on. But rely on your support systems when you need that system, which is why you should have several systems. Find the good. The cup is half full. Always remember the cup is half full. When you start to think that the cup is half empty, work yourself back to the cup being half full. And that is by distressing, relaxing, just leaving it to God, maintaining your faith in yourself and in God. You have to have faith in yourself as well, that you have the ability to push through, you have the ability to succeed at the end of the day, and that you, being your child's mother, greatest advocate, greatest love, because you love your child like no other. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody loves their child more than the mother. There's no greater love than a mother's love, because it is infinite. So you have that power, you have that love. God gave you this child to birth and to care for. So that child, it is for you to find the child's potential, what that child can do, what that child can be, and to bring that out. All of us were brought here for a purpose. Your child on the spectrum came with a purpose. Is to help your child find their purpose. Everybody has a different purpose. Some of us quantify it as, they were great, everybody has a purpose, even if it is to teach humanity in their immediate environment, if it's to impact the neighbors to understand that everybody is different, If that is what the child came to this world to do, that is their purpose. Everybody has their purpose, and nobody's purpose is greater than the others, you know. And that brings me to another thing. It's interesting. Before I started this, which is why I talk about perspective, I asked my son, a twin brother of my daughter, I said, what would you like me to, you know, what would you like me to convey or to say? And he said, tell parents, tell mothers not to compare. So we've all been told, don't compare your children. Every typical child is different. Talk less of your child with special needs and autism. Don't compare. And don't also compare. Try. It's hard. It's a human thing that we do. It's part of being human, that we compare ourselves, we compare our situations, all of that. But autism, my sisters, is different. Your child's autism is different from other children's autism. So try as much as you can not to compare your child's progress or lack of progress or accelerated progress with other children and other mothers and all of that. Everybody's journey and purpose is different. It's hard to do because what I'm proposing is really not human instinct, but it's something that we have to learn. When you learn that, then it gives you peace to focus on your child's strength and your child's purpose.
Okay. All right. So before we leave, I just wanted to. There were 2 comments and 2 questions. One is directed to you. It says, as a mom of an 18-year-old child, from your experience, how effective do you think therapy is for the child? How do you think therapy is very effective? And do you think therapy is very effective, or the child just outgrows some behaviors with age?
Okay. The beauty of, if you think about it, what you, as a typical person growing up, as a typical human being growing up, what you were doing at 1, what you were doing at 10, what you were doing at 20, there are habits that you dropped. So your child on the spectrum is just like you. I mean, they were created in just like you. So they're going to drop some habits as they get old, and they're going to pick up some habits as they grow older as well, just as I and you have picked up along the way. We've all picked up habits, we've dropped habits. So that's how our children are going to operate as well. Always remember, they come from the same stock as us. It's just that they're on a spectrum. For me, to me, it's just autism. I describe autism as it's wiring. It's wiring. Your children came out differently wired. And why I say it's wiring is because my child's wiring is different from Sholape's child's wiring, which is why I say every autistic child is different. So it's rewiring in such a way that the child can fulfill their greatest potential. That's what we're looking towards. Now, the lady or person asked if certain therapies, you should end them when they get older. I would say no. What you think is working, continue. I was of the opinion before that after a certain age, the children can't learn. If they are unable to do certain things by the time they become 16 or whatever it is, that's the end. No. Children can learn. My child has made progress from 16 to 18. So don't ever stop. As long as there's breath in you and there's breath in that child and you can afford, please don't stop thinking that the end has come. After all, you can decide to do a master's or do, go back to learn a new profession or something else. I, at over 50, I'm thinking of changing careers now. So really, if our brains as humans were not elastic, then it means I wouldn't be able to go back to school at my age. So if I can, why can't my child who is 18 still learn? We
Yeah.
have to look at it like that, which is why I say perspective. When you learn to put things in perspective, you learn to answer some questions.
So
You learn to answer some questions and worries that you may have.
yes. So somebody else says, so true. I fight very strongly for my son. I feel like I've lost me, but I'm glad I didn't lose my mind. It's been quite a challenge, honestly. It's the hardest when you can't even take a simple nap. Wow. So,
Yes.
so another
Yes,
person's,
that's tough. But
yeah.
like I said, my darling, you need to be intentional.
Mhm.
If we think about it hard enough, we can find a window where we can take a break.
Yeah.
If you think about it hard enough, even if it is just after drop off,
Mhm.
even if you're going to beg the gatesman in the school compound that, you know what, can I just park inside the compound, and you are sleeping inside your car for 30 minutes to get yourself,
Mm.
please do it.
Mm.
In my professional life, I learned power naps. I hope nobody is on here from work. Lunchtime, I never used to go to the canteen. A lot of people would have thought I was not sociable. I was unsociable, but that was not true. Lunchtime, I used to check up on my child's reports while I'm eating, do all the personal things I needed to do with my child, and also take that nap if I hadn't slept. If I hadn't slept well, because my child is not a good, she's gotten better. She's gotten better now. She's 18. But she was not a good sleeper. In fact, she hardly used to sleep. That's the long and short of the story. She hardly used to sleep. So, starting off my day tired. So I learned to power nap, recover some of my sleep. In the car, I shut off, I sleep. When you need it, you'll be surprised. We're on social media now, but let me take on social media. Sometimes you just need to shut out.
Mhm.
There's some
Mhm.
days I'm actually not on social media. When I check, my child in uni is fine. My husband is good. My daughter is in front of me or she has gone out. My mom is fine. I've cross-checked my immediate family. Everybody's okay. I switch off the phone. I just switch off the phone for some time. Or in that day, I say, today I can't, no social media for me. So I may just not be online.
Mm.
I may do other things, pick up calls and whatever, but I just may not be online because I need some time to refresh. You'll be surprised. We play
Yeah.
with our phones a lot. If you train yourself to drop that phone for a bit and not browse, not check your Instagram, not check that for a little bit, you'll be surprised how much time you can gain back for yourself if you just do that. And there's nothing like creating an environment for yourself where you can rest, even if you're not, to bring down that tension a bit. Even if you're not sleeping or whatever, put some light music, some calming music for yourself. If it's praise and worship, if it's instrumental, whatever it is, even if it's hip hop or whatever it is. Sometimes I'm on hip hop, I'm on my Afro beats, you know if that's what I need in the morning to get me all gingered up. That's what you need. You'll be surprised. All these things lift your mood. Music is a great mood lifter. You don't
Mm.
actually have to fully stop to actually get some respite. And then that's another word, respite. Take respite whenever you can. When you're offered help, please take it, as long as you know it is safe help.
Yeah.
Safe help is, you know, the people you can safely leave your child with.
Mm.
When you have that safe help and somebody comes and says, oh, I'm willing to come and spend the weekend in your house so you can, I'm willing to stay behind, go out for you and your husband to go for that dinner or do whatever, that, please take it.
Yeah.
Please take it. Don't look at it as the person is pitying you or whatever. Take
Judging.
it. Yeah. Don't, as long as that person is, you feel safe with that person, and you know your child will be safe, especially if that person is willing to come into your own environment. Remember that where your child lives, their primary environment is where they feel safest. So, I always advocate when you're bringing a new person into, their lives, even for a brief time, that it is within their own safe environment where they feel safe, so that they have that extra, that extra comfort. Their anxiety levels don't go higher because they're dealing with a new person. They can't tell you, that person, I don't like the perfume they're using, or, there's, different things spark their anxiety that we can never fully understand. So as long, try as much as possible to create, keep them in their own environment where they feel safest. When you're introducing new people, new things, do it first in their own environment. It's easier for them to accept and imbibe when it's done in their own environment where they are used to. That's something I just threw out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
a
much.
little nugget.
I think Chizoba says, no lies there. Don't compare. Please don't compare. Children do outgrow some behaviors, and says that children are children first. So we should always consider that. So thank you, everybody that's joined, that's contributed. I promised my darling sis that it was just going to be and I'm taking a whole
Yes, and I just kept yakking and yakking and yakking.
Yeah, and I'm so glad because I just, I know that she has such a big, huge wealth of information, support, and things that I know that I needed to get out there. And I'm so glad she touched on everything she touched on. And I'm so glad to have you. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Yes,
so please, my ladies, remember, God has not given you what you cannot carry.
Yes.
There are times you will feel that you can't carry it, it's too heavy. But believe me, God knows best. If He gave you that child, you are equipped. You are fully equipped to be the best mother for that child. So don't second guess yourself. You will every now and again. But perspective, get back to that space. Get back. Have faith in yourself. You will get back to that place and continue to do the right thing. Also, take time out for yourself. It's very important. For yourself, for your significant, or with your significant other. Don't forget the other children. Very, very, very important. Very, very important. Siblings of persons with special needs, they go through a lot. They are also bullied sometimes. They go through shame. They go through isolation. So please make it be intentional with your relationships with the other siblings, so that they grow up. How like I say, that you've done the best you can is where they are comfortable and extremely loving and caring of their sibling. They didn't have the luxury of living life without autism. You had that luxury, they have not. So you also need to cut them some slack and give them some extra love.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you said it all. Everything I wanted to say, you said it all. I'm so happy. Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you.
Put this to an end.
Thank you for being a great ambassador of Admin. I really appreciate you and all that you have done in Admin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So next week we're going to bring somebody else again to share our own perspective. It's just like I said, it's about parents sharing from their own experience. I'm not bringing. I'm not saying you might be a professional in the autism world, but here we're just talking from a parent angle. What are you doing? What are you doing that is making a difference? And how can you encourage others coming behind you? How can you share the support? Thank you so much. Let me let you go because I can see.
All right. Thank you so much, Olape. Yeah. And
Bye.
thank you for what you do. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.